Alright guys, welcome to a Tabs tier list video. In today's video I have put together a tier list. Someone on my last video suggested that I did so, and naturally I went and did it. And also bear in mind that this is my opinion, based off my experiences with the game, and if you feel like units should be placed differently, let me know in the comments. But let's be civil about this. I know what the internet's like with opinions, let's all be civil. I've split the units up into 5 tiers: bad, okay, great, amazing, and godlike. I'll work my way up from the bottom, talk about some of the less obvious ones, and the rest should do itself. Alright, so the first unit in the bad tier is the Painter. I think it can be universally agreed that this guy is bad. Well, I mean, there's an argument to be made that because the Painter is so cheap, he can't really be bad because he's really cheap. I think regardless of the price, the Painter is still useless and you should never use this unit. Like, yeah, I know he's cheap, but still, there is no reason why you should choose this unit. Even if he plays 100 of these guys down, there's still a high chance that you'll actually lose. And the Dragon. This may be one of the less obvious ones, like why have you put the Dragon in bad tier? I feel like the fire shoots at too high an angle. Oftentimes it goes over the top of the units, and the units need to be at least, a small distance away from the Dragon to actually be affected by the fire. The units holding the Dragon up are too easily picked off. I think he's just not very worth it. The Jester, the Fencer, and the Teacher all do similar things, and out of the 3 of them, I feel like the Jester's useless. And the gimmick of being able to parry something isn't really that useful in the first place, and the Jester's just the worst one of that group. So Fanbearer and the Shouter. I think the Fanbearer is one of the most useless units in the game. I guess he's fun to mess around with in Sandbox, but he just isn't very useful. And the Shouter, pretty much the same as the Fanbearer. Alright, so moving into the OK tier. This tier is of course headlined by the Ballista. I made a video about the Ballista, it's my last video if you want to go and check it out. But I just made the argument that this guy is incredibly situational. The Ballista is probably one of the most situational units in the game. But the only reason I haven't put him any lower is because the one job that it is good at, no other unit is as good at. If that makes sense. The way you use this Ballista, or the way I use the Ballista anyway, is picking off units at the back. Say like a catapult or another siege weapon that the enemy might have. Every other situation that you may consider a Ballista, just use a catapult. The balloon units, I don't really use that much, but I do see how they could be useful, so I've put them in OK tier. Longship. I feel like the Longship should be a lot better than it actually is. Like, it sounds good, but in actuality, it's just a bit of a mess, really. It kind of becomes a bit of a detriment to itself. Put the Farmer down here. That one may turn some heads. The Farmer is just a worse version of the Sarissa. Everything the Farmer can do, the Sarissa can do better. And there's the Teacher and the Fencer in here. Like I said, I think these units aren't really that useful, so I put them in bad tier. These explanations are great. Clams. Put the Clams here. There could be an argument to be made for the Clams to be in great tier. Like, they're not awful units, but I feel like it's massively overshadowed by the Scarecrow and the Mammoth. Honestly, people have made careers out of coming up with creative ways to counter this thing. Like, one of the most obsolete units in the game. Alright, so in great tier, these are units that, their pros equal their cons. They're good, but not amazing. And yes, the Reaper is at the bottom of this tier. I feel like the Reaper is massively overrated. He can shred massive groups of units, yeah, but like, all it really takes to kill this thing is a couple of archers, but it's the Reaper, so I couldn't physically put him any lower. Also, at the front of this tier, I've put all of the pirate units. Well, not all of the pirate units, but all the pirate units I don't really think are anything special. Pretty undisputed that the pirate faction is the best faction in the game. It has got, a lot of the best units, but I think those 3 are the least good out of the lot of them. One second, I might move the cannon. But yeah, no, the rest of this tier is just like, these units are good, but nothing stand out about any of these units really. Alright, so moving to the amazing tier. These aren't the best of the best, but they're a clear cut above the rest. And yes, I've put Artemis in this tier. I feel like how little health she has just holds her back. And also the price means that she is just incredibly, what's the word I'm looking for? Artemis's price just makes her not very sensible. You are never going to use this unit in any campaign. Alright, so headlining the amazing tier is the Berserker. The Berserker is one of the most useful units in the game. I've also put the Cheerleader in this tier. I know you're thinking, why haven't you put the Cheerleader in godlike tier? I mean, you pair the Cheerleader with a ranged unit and you're laughing, but you pair a Cheerleader with like a close range or melee unit, it isn't really that effective. Firework Archer, also a really good unit. And the Flintlock. I think out of all of the peasant type units in the game, the Flintlock is the best. I think this guy needs a nerf, honestly. I think they should add a few more points to his price, because for what you get is incredibly good. You get a group of these guys and you can unleash a hail of bullets, and then if need be, they just enter peasant mode and just go slap things up. Alright, and the God tier. Right, so the bottom of the godlike tier, we've got the Pirate Queen. For how much she costs, she is just too good. She has pretty good damage with her sword, and then she has that really powerful ability to drop bombs at her feet and jump up in the air. I think for how many points she costs, she is way too powerful. And the Hawatcha, is that how you say it? I think that's how you say it. Probably has the highest DPS in the game. Actually a stupid unit. The Ice Giant. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to grab the Ice Giant, move it down a tier. Because, the reason I do this is because it's similar to Artemis. This thing costs 6,000 points, and you're never going to use this thing outside of Sandbox. I can guarantee you. He's powerful, you know, he's probably got the most health in the game, he does some of the best damage in the game, but just not very realistic. And of course, the best unit, in my opinion, in the game is the Blunderbuss. The Blunderbuss's weapon by itself isn't really anything that stand out, but the armor the Blunderbuss has makes him impervious to everything. You know, lightning, arrows, even ballista bolts. This guy can tank ballista bolts. On top of that, this guy only costs 200 points, which is I'm not quite sure how Landfall that one slipped through the cracks, but you know, you got this like nuclear-proof soldier, decent damage that doesn't really cost anything. I think he needs to be nerfed. But anyway, this is my tier list. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like I said, in a civilized manner. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more content like this, and I will see you in the next one.